Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to Life After Death. My name is Curtis Childs. I'm the host of the show. We're continuing our journey, our odyssey, through Emanuel Swedenborg's book, Heaven and Hell, which, in my super humble opinion, is, one of the most important books ever. And in that book, we learn about fractals in the spiritual world. That's what we're talking about today. Do you know what fractal is? Do you know what I'm talking about if I say fractal? Let's see if I know what it is. As I understand it, the simplified definition is fractal is something that is the same when it's big and small. It's it's one thing that's self-similar at different sizes of magnification. You see this in mathematics. You've probably seen the Mandelbrot set. As soon as it's on the screen, oh yeah, I know that thing. It's like you zoom into a part of it and it's the same. People make screensavers out of it because there's this formula. I don't know how they make it, but it creates this image that keep zooming in, and it's the same form appears over and over. And this happens in nature too. Nautilus shells are fractals. Leaf veins, you have the big structures repeating smaller and smaller and smaller. Even if you've walked into the grocery store and you look at the vegetables, and there's carrots, there's tomatoes, there's beans, and what's that? What's that weird thing? You're probably looking at Romanesco broccoli, which is just overdoing it when it comes to fractals. It's so obviously it's same in one of the points as the little points that make up the points. So they happen in nature, in mathematics, and today we're looking at how they happen in the spiritual world too. Because the same principles, the same divine order that created and sustains this level of existence is also the author of the spiritual level of existence. So it would be weird if there weren't similar elements in both of them. But in the spiritual world, I'm going to risk offending some people and say that the fractals there are even cooler than the ones that we see here. So let's take a look at what they are and what they mean to your spiritual journey. So we got a fractal is a pattern that is the same big as it is small. Where does it show up in the spiritual world? How's this one for you? This is a heaven. This is a map of heaven that we look at. It's got all the parts in it. This is a heaven. This section of heaven is a heaven. The first or outermost heaven is not part of a heaven, it is a heaven. Any community of angels within the first or outermost heaven is a heaven. This is a complete heaven. And any individual angel, this is a heaven. Obviously, this person is different than this map. So how does that work? Well, it has to do with what heaven is. Swedenborg says in Heaven and Hell 51, the reason each community is a heaven in smaller form and each angel is a heaven in smallest form is that the activity of love and faith is what makes heaven. This good activity is in every community of heaven and in every angel of a community. So heaven starts with a mental and emotional activity, the activity of love and faith. What you care about and what you know. And in the heavenly condition, that is when what you care about are the things that are good. And what you know are the things that are true. That is what makes heaven. So that activity, you can have that activity happening with everyone who's within heaven. You can have that activity happening within this group. You can have that activity happening within any given community. You can have that activity happening within the heart and mind of a single angel. Any of those things qualifies as heaven. That makes the cut. The soul of heaven is in any of those things. That doesn't mean just because we're dealing with this massive fractal, probably the largest fractal that exists, doesn't mean that everybody is the same. Like, oh, you have heaven and you zoom in and all the characteristics and quality of each person are the same because they're all just heaven. The activity of love and faith can take infinite forms, but yet maintain its essential characteristic, which links it to or categorizes it in the same category as everything else. Swedenborg puts it this way. He says, it doesn't matter that this activity is different and distinctive everywhere. It is still the activity of heaven. The only difference is that heaven has one activity here and another there. The activity of heaven has infinite possible manifestations. That's why it's essential that nobody ever is exactly like anyone else, and nobody's heaven is ever like anyone else's. Do you know how many heavens there are? I mean, on this map we've got 3, but actually there are however billion many people have ever existed and will ever exist. That's how many heavens or potential heavens there are, because it is about the particular activity of love and faith that's inside you. So, we continue in Heaven Hell 51. So, whenever anyone is raised into any community of heaven, they say that he or she has arrived in heaven. They say of those who are there that they are in heaven, each in his or her own. So, how do you know if you're in heaven? Well, are you in a community where there's the activity of love and faith? And within that, are you in the activity of love and faith? Then you made it to heaven. Swedenborg even talks about people going up to the spiritual world, and there's a part of it right here called the world of spirits, where you're not quite in heaven yet. He tells a story about people who go there, and they look out, and they can see a community of angels in one part of heaven, and they can see another community of angels that's in a whole other direction. But they say, oh, look, over there, that's heaven. Hey, over there, that's heaven. Because it's all heaven wherever this particular activity exists. This is why you get so many plural references to heaven in the Bible, like the plural noun, heavens. This is why Jesus famously said, "In my Father's house are many mansions." And also, the word heavens, plural, appears all over the place in the Bible. You have it in the Psalms, when I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the heavens are telling the glory of the Lord. Your steadfast love, O Lord, extends to the heavens. Thus says God the Lord, who created the heavens and stretched them out. His glory covered the heavens. Rejoice then, you heavens, and those who dwell in them. Like Curtis's meditative Bible readings. Heavens. I'm telling you, there's a lot of heavens, because it's not defined by one place you've crossed the boundary, and it's like, oh, Jimmy, don't play too close to the edge of heaven, because as soon as you cross that, if you trip and fall over, you won't be in heaven anymore. Heaven is about the activity of love and faith, and that happens in all kinds of ways in all different places. It's not even just biblical. Yeah, in Sikhism, it says, of the netherworlds and heavens, he has created millions. Men exhaust themselves trying to explore them. So there are all these different heavens, but we can call them all heaven because it's a fractal, because the activity that's happening in any one of these places is the same on a small level as the activity that's happening overall in the grand manifestation of God's plan for reality, which we can call heaven. The people are not convinced. They need more detail, they're saying. You're saying love and faith. Everything's the same in love and faith. What is he even talking about? How is heaven fractal? Okay, let's go into some more detail. There's, the numbers that we're reading in this section, they bring the heat. Man, this is 52. We may also gather that a community is a heaven in lesser form from the fact that the heavenly form in each community is of the same nature as it is in heaven overall. Here's how the specifics of that go. So if you look at heaven on the largest scale, God leads everyone in heaven through the wisdom of the angels in the innermost central heaven. We talked about that in our Auras show, because the outreach through them affects everyone in heaven. If you go to a community level, God leads everyone in each heavenly community through the guidance of the wisest members of that community who live in the center of that community, no matter what size it is. And if you zoom into the individual person, God leads each angel, and so each human being, through the innermost level of their spirit, where the most love and wisdom can flow in. Like in our show, there's a level of your mind that's only accessible to God. So that the method by which God governs is the same in each. I told you these numbers were going to bring the heat. This one has got 2 ideas, both of which are like dangerously great. So I'll go slow and try to break it up in half. The Lord leads all the people in the whole of heaven as though they were a single angel, and does the same for those who are in any particular community. Pause. God leads, not just that heaven's form is the same, but the way that God relates to heaven. So all the people that this represents, all the people that are in this, you got all these different sorts of people who like have a spiritual bent and they want to learn and live by that truth. A natural bent, they want to live simple, honest, good lives. A celestial or heavenly bent, so they want to, love is what's lighting them up. This all together, God leads them in the same way that he leads any person individually. You think about, is divine providence in my life, is it kind of getting me to not want to do this thing that's not as good and leading me to unlock this thing or bring me to more truth? God is leading the entirety of heaven that way. And every given community, God is leading that community in the same way, and with the same methods that he does for the leading of any individual person. Come on, there's a fractal in God's salvation or guidance or whatever you want to say, principle. It's like, I've got this program, I can run it big, I can run it small. Are you not entertained? As a result, back to the quote, as a result, sometimes a whole angelic community appears as a single entity in the form of an angel, a sight that the Lord has allowed me to see. You okay? You've told me that there's some kind of fractal activity going on here, but it can be visually presented as this group of people looks like a single person. You can see the whole group as a single person. And actually, the entirety of heaven could be seen if you had the right wisdom. You could see it as a single person. You could look at, this is all of heaven. Somehow it is legitimately all represented in this one person in front of me. But you can't see that. Swedenborg couldn't see it. Nobody except God has the, brain power, heart power, wisdom, infinity to be able to process all that and see heaven as a single human, like the ultimate sort of dashboard. See all of heaven as a single human. But people can see whole communities looking like a single angel. Swedenborg just described that. And this is why you get communities of angels appearing as single angels in the Bible. In the Bible, there's sort of the Ninja Turtles of angels. Gabriel, Michael, Raphael. Come on, Raphael. Those are not individual angels. It's not like there's just a few out of all the millions and billions of people in heaven. There's a couple that, honey, I got to get down to earth to announce these things. I'm one of God's few henchmen or henchwomen. The henchwomen. So it is a group of people who can appear as a single angel. It's a community of people that are communities in heaven are united by a single function. It's a community of people appearing as a single angel. That's what's happening in the Bible. Swedenborg doesn't tell us what Raphael is doing, what that is a symbol of, but he does say explicitly that Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, that is the single person manifestation, as you seeing the community of angels who teach about the divine human manifestation of God on earth. So there's some spiritual think tank that is trying to communicate to the human race what the divine could incarnate on the world, what that's about. This is why it's the angel Gabriel who's making all those announcements in the Christmas story, which is about that thing. Michael, the angel Michael, is a community of angels who teach about the oneness of the divine human and the divine essence, the Son and the Father, and about leading the life that he calls you to, which is uniting charity and faith. So any angel that participates in that, cares about that mission, it's got the right stuff for that. God brings them into the community of angels. Let's say they're yellow. That is, hey, we're Michael. We got to figure out a way to teach people about this, and that's why you encounter these single angels in the Bible. It's not one person. It is everyone who participates in that activity of love and faith, because it's all fractal. If you want to learn more about Gabriel in particular, we did a show called The Real Identity of the Angel Gabriel in the Christmas Story. And that's only two of the countless heavenly communities. Maybe you felt like, I don't really want to spend my time doing either of those things. The stuff we do on Earth, the kind of useful activities we do on Earth, there's relatively few. If you think about all the occupations that people have, you go everything from being like a psychologist to being somebody who climbs up to the very top of cell phone towers and fixes them and makes those terrifying videos about doing it, to somebody who is researching atomic structure, somebody who's teaching kids kindergarten, everything in between. All those added up, Swedenborg says, they're relatively few compared to the occupations that are in heaven. So there are communities around every kind of useful function that you could have. And together, all of you who are participating in that function and doing that thing for the human race, you are like the angel so-and-so. Because it's all fractals. There's another awesome number here in sequence. And this one, I think I know what it's talking about. It says in Heaven and Hell 52, when the Lord appears in the midst of angels, he does not appear surrounded by a crowd, but as a lone individual in angelic form. This is why the Lord is called an angel in the Word. What I think this is saying is that if the Lord, the human manifestation of God that Gabriel's telling everyone about, is going to go hang out with any particular community, in visible form, he's always interacting with everyone, but if he says, I'm going to come here and hang out with you, it's not like, hey, here's the Lord. Can I get a front row seat? There he is in the middle. Actually, because God is the activity of love and faith that pulls all these things into that human form in the first place, when God shows up and all the angels are with him, it's kind of like you just see one angel. Is it kind of like the Megazord in Power Rangers? Do you know what I'm talking about? There was a show when I was a kid. It's called Power Rangers. And each of the, I hope I'm getting the terminology right, but each of the Power Rangers, which are these like ninja kind of heroes, they each have a machine that they ride in. I forget what those are called. But all their machines could combine into the Megazord. And the Megazord was this like big person that walked around and had to battle some big monster. It's like when the Lord shows up, all the angels are able to assemble into this one human form. That's the effect. The Lord has a humanizing effect. And that's why the Lord gets called an angel in the Word. The Lord will do this so that, I know, it's crazy. It's out there. The Lord will do this so that he can approach people safely. For example, in Exodus it says, and the angel of the Lord, not an angel, the angel of the Lord, appeared to Moses in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. Well, why didn't Jesus just show up to Moses and say, hey, what's going on? It's because this is way too powerful. Moses would get fried to a crisp. And that's not what the divine love wants to do. So God will unite with the community of angels that wants to do the kind of useful thing that he's looking to do. And the Lord is in this angel and is talking to Moses. In Numbers 22, this presence of God is clearly a lone individual in angelic form. It says, now the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand. God can appear as an angel through this connection with any community of angels. If you want to know more about that particular story, see our show, The Curious Case of Balaam and His Talking Donkey by Dr. Seuss, or it sounds like that. So the fractal can do high-powered stuff. Because there is this repeating pattern, God can use heaven to do these amazing things that I sort of get what they are, but I'm sure I could learn a million things about it. The fractal, like everything else in heaven, is useful, and useful for the purpose of doing good to the human race. Okay, for the last section, let's talk about the way that the full heaven level of the fractal and the individual angel in heaven layer the fractal interact with each other. Because there is, despite the fact that it's the activity of love and faith within any individual angel that makes heaven, there is a place that is heaven. Like, look around and everything here is beautiful. I'm in heaven. So those two are actually closely intertwined with each other. Swedenborg says in Heaven and Hell 53, just as a whole community is a heaven in lesser form, so too an angel is a heaven in least form. For heaven is not outside angels, but within them. Their deeper levels, the levels of their minds, are arranged in the form of heaven, meaning that pattern that repeats everywhere, and therefore are arranged to accept all the elements of heaven that are outside them. These elements they accept according to the quality of the goodness that is within them from the Lord. As a result, an angel is also a heaven. So there's a lot of cool stuff around you in heaven, but it's because you're in the right form to accept it that you can experience, and that it, together with what's inside you, creates the experience of heaven. Because being in heaven after death is a result of building heaven inside of us. So the process starts on earth as we get to choose between stuff that is in harmony with the pattern of heaven and stuff that is out of harmony or even destructive to the pattern of heaven. Bit by bit, we build up this heaven inside us, so then we're compatible with the sphere of heaven and can go and make heaven together with it. In the spiritual world, the outer environments around any given person are a reflection of the inner environment. So everybody will enter a heavenly community, which the community has got houses in it. It's got hills and meadows and clouds and stuff. Everybody enters the heavenly community that is most, where that external stuff is most the reflection of who they are inside. There is a match with the outside and the inside. And Karin found this cool quote about that dynamic in Swedenborg's book, Marriage Love, where we look at it a little closer.
In his book, Marriage Love, Swedenborg tells a long story that has come to be known as the imaginary heaven story, in which a group of newcomers to the afterlife are allowed to try out their ideas of what heaven is like. And when they find that it's not as happy a situation as they had imagined, angels come and tell them the truth about what heaven is like and what heavenly happiness is based on. And included in all the things that the angels tell these newcomers, there's this gem of a quote that I found. And it says, "We are created to be a miniature replica, image, or reflection of a larger heaven. And so each of us finds the community in heaven whose form we replicate on an individual basis. As a result, when we enter that community, we are entering a form that matches our own. And so, as we ourselves enter that community, it is actually entering itself within us. And we adopt the life of the community as our own, while it adopts our life as its own." And I love the reciprocity of that. We bring who we are into this community that we will call home. And at the same time, the others there give of themselves to us. So there's this wonderful exchange of thoughts and feelings and perspectives that makes things better for everybody, that creates this wonderful, bigger perspective for everyone. And the cool thing is that's starting right now. We're already in touch with a spiritual community of kindred spirits that we will call home in the afterlife. And that exchange is beginning now as we choose who we want to be, what we want to engage in, what feelings we want to embrace, what thoughts. So we can already be starting this wonderful interaction with our heavenly home community.
To quote a song from Coldplay's first album, which is so different than their later albums, we live in a beautiful world. Fractals are awesome. They show up in the way that amazing organisms and structures are, even in the world of mathematics, and it shows that there's something bigger going on here. There's something cool going on where you even see it in stuff that's a little less precise. People will geek out about, man, dude, did you know the solar system looks like an atom? There's something inherently fascinating and intriguing and even comforting about the idea that the large and the small share something, that there is something constant throughout everywhere. In the spiritual world, that ramps up to the next level, and the constancy is not just in forms. Like, that's kind of cool that form repeats, but it's about love and truth. It's about the will to do well to a human being. So all of heaven is this form where there's an activity of love and faith. There is goodness and truth, being kind and being smart go together. And within there is this guiding wisdom in the middle that then radiates out and equips everyone with the tools they need to be happy. Within any given community of heaven, it's the same thing. There is this unity of purpose there. There is wisdom in the center. And within each one of us, we are looking to become instances of that fractal. So if you want to do that, if you feel like, I'd love to be a miniature version of heaven, all you got to do is get that love and that truth together in you. Learn what is good and right and that you can go do, but then also do it. And have your search for however you want to progress in life driven by the desire to make life better for everyone. Then you can always know that deep down in there is that wisdom and that love. Even if I'm not feeling it on these outermost levels, it's there. That's like the fractal guarantee that no matter what, you've got something good deep at the core, and you're part of a larger whole. You are inextricably part of this larger whole, that the whole is good, the smaller parts are good, and the smallest parts are good. That's the fractal of heaven, baby. Okay, bye.